Hello friends, this essay, as I have mentioned in my previous video, is a response letter to Tagore's comments upon Gandhi's move in the freedom struggle. Gandhi calls Tagore's approach as word pictures. He says, it is an eloquent protest against authority, slave mentality, or whatever description one gives of blind acceptance of a passing mania, whether out of fear or hope. It is a welcome and wholesome reminder to all workers that we must not be impatient. We must not impose authority no matter how great. Gandhi here takes the message from Tagore to reject anything and everything that does not appeal to our reason or heart. For Tagore's appreciation of truth, Gandhi thanks him for standing up for truth and reason and further says that it is essential to stand for truth when one has gained Swaraj. Gandhi advises Tagore as a reformer who is enraged because his message is not accepted must retire to the forest to learn how to watch, wait and pray. While Tagore has pointed out that to the people of Bengal, the people of Bombay are as much outsiders as those from Britain. Gandhi places himself also in the place of an outsider and regrets people blindly following him. He says, surrendering to such love is more dangerous than surrendering oneself to the lash of a tyrant. There is hope for the slave of the brute, none for that of love. Love is needed to strengthen the weak. Love becomes tyrannical when it exacts obedience from an unbeliever. To mutter a mantra without knowing its value is unmanly. Keeping this in mind, Gandhi says that Tagore has invited his followers to revolt the charkha. Blindly following Gandhi just because he has right intentions is not the way. If Gandhi is using the charkha, he has his intentions with him. If people have to use the charkha, they should know the intentions of using it. And thus, Tagore has questioned Gandhi about it. The word sentinel in the title of this essay refers to Tagore. Gandhi identifies him to be warning about bigotry, lethargy, intolerance, ignorance, inertia, and other members of that brood. Gandhi accepts Tagore's proposition of watchfulness, but at the same time does not agree to the idea that there is blind obedience among the masses. Gandhi defends himself saying, I have again and again appealed to reason, and let me assure him that if happily the country has come to believe in the spinning wheel as the giver of plenty, it has done so after laborious thinking, after great hesitation. Gandhi takes this chance to advise Tagore to give importance to the substance underneath and not to the surface dirt. He is in fact telling Tagore to not judge a book by its cover. He wants Tagore to verify if people have fallen for the charkha because of blind faith or from a reasoned necessity. Gandhi further defends himself, saying that his advice to people to opt for the charkha is not just a rebellious action against the imported clothes, but a means of survival for his own people. Cloth production, he says, is not just to protect one's dignity, but for people to make a living on it. Considering the nation as one whole entity, Gandhi says that a poet, a lawyer, or a schoolboy, or anyone for that matter, can go back to their works once the cry for freedom has been answered. Until then, everybody has to work together, same like how a family collectively pours water while its house is on fire. At present, Gandhi says, his duty is to feed the hungry, and one profession that everyone can take up is spinning the charkha. Thus, he says that his choice of the charkha is not wrong. Khulna is starving not because the people cannot work, but because they have no work. The seeded districts are passing successively through a fourth famine. Orissa is a land of suffering from chronic famines. Our cities are not India. India lives in her 7.5 lakhs of villages, and the cities live upon the villages. They do not bring their wealth from other countries. The city people are brokers and commission agents for the big houses of Europe, America, and Japan. The cities have cooperated with the latter in the bleeding process that has gone on for the past 200 years. It is my belief based on experience that India is daily growing poorer. The circulation about her feet and legs has almost stopped, and if we do not take care, she will collapse altogether. So, in this long statement here, Gandhi is conveying to Tagore and all the other people opposing him that people are starving everywhere, all over India, because of famine. So, growing crops has become an impossibility. So, spinning cloth somewhere can produce an income to these people who are dying of hunger. For those people who are famishing and idle, God can appear in the form of work and promise of food as wages. And thus, Gandhi has offered them the spinning wheel as a means to earn their livelihood. The spinning wheel is the reviving draught for the millions of our dying countrymen and countrywomen. Gandhi quotes God saying that those who do not earn their food through work are thieves. He considers 80% of the Indians as thieves, for they do not work for their food. He advises everybody, including Tagore, to question themselves if they are earning their own food or living on the means of the others. Earning one's food and becoming independent thus is Swaraj, says Gandhi. Being more practical, Gandhi says that the spinning wheel can protect more of people's dignity than prayer songs ever can. He tells everybody to respect the dignity of labor and thus liberate their souls from slavery. Gandhi is not interested in great discoveries or the scientific progress of mankind. His attention is towards making every individual independent and thus the country itself free from the British rule. Living on one's own income is as essential as breathing, says Gandhi. He compares the spinning wheel to the left lung. When it stops working, man has to face the galloping consumption. So Gandhi says, the restoration of the wheel arrests the progress of the fell disease. There is no excuse of the seasons or age for anybody to spin. It must be done by everybody in all seasons and climates, says Gandhi. From his personal experience and also as a general fact, Gandhi says, it was our love of foreign cloth that ousted the wheel from its position of dignity. He does not differentiate economics and ethics. Any economics that hurt the moral well-being of either an individual or a nation are both sinful, says Gandhi. Buying goods from our own neighbors will feed them also. Just because one has the income, it is wrong to import, according to Gandhi. Gandhi puts forth his belief in Tagore. If the burnt clothes belong to the poor section, as Tagore said, Gandhi says that he would have returned to the poor people soon. But Gandhi's advice to Tagore and others is to burn their own imported clothes. Gandhi, in a way, seeks to protect the dignity of his people by giving them work and providing them wages to buy food instead of directly providing them food and making them beg all through their lives. He calls the task of becoming such a patron sin. Gandhi's intention is to provide his people a privileged position and not crumbs or cast-off clothing, but to associate himself in their work, earn along with them, and lead a dignified life along with them. He does not consider his concepts of non-cooperation or Swadeshi as exclusive doctrine. If it does not work, Gandhi is ready to change his plan of action. His complaint is that at present India has got only her degradation, pauperism, and plagues to show to the world. If her people become able enough to make a living of their own, the country can at least get back its dignity. Thus, Gandhi insists people to work on the charka. India at present cannot put forward the Shastras also because we do live according to them, says Gandhi. Our non-cooperation is neither with the English nor with the West. Our non-cooperation is with the system the English have established, with the material civilization and its attendant greed and exploitation of the weak. Our non-cooperation is a retirement within ourselves. Our non-cooperation is a refusal to cooperate with the English administrators on their own terms. We say to them, "Come and cooperate with us on our terms and it will be well for us, for you and the world." We must refuse to be lifted off our feet. A drowning man cannot save others. In order to be fit to save others, we must try to save ourselves. Indian nationalism is not exclusive, nor aggressive, nor destructive. It is health-giving, religious, and therefore humanitarian. India must learn to live before she can aspire to die for humanity. The mice which helplessly find themselves between the cat's teeth acquire no merit from their enforced sacrifice. Taking Tagore's example of bird, Gandhi says that the Indian bird, that is the poor section of India, has slept on an empty stomach on the previous night, and thus it is not possible to coax it even to flutter its wings, forget soaring into the sky in search of food. Quoting Kabir at the end of his essay, Gandhi completes his defense against Tagore's verbal attack. Thank you.